Hello, this is Lillian, welcoming you to the 1893rd edition of the Enfield Talking Newspaper, Dateline the 20th of February 2014. The readers this week are Joan, Beverley, Rod and myself, Lillian, with Cassandra and Colin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Boulon, Harry Brewer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include We're in a pickle over cuts, says Budget Boss. Motorists may be driven out. Meningitis survivor will appear in global campaign to find a cure. And community hub can be trusted by everybody. If you are experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 0208 805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, I have one special news item. Barnet Borough Sight Impaired are holding their 20th anniversary AGM and exhibition on Tuesday the 4th of March 2014 from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at Trinity Church, Never Street, North Finchley, N12 7NN. The exhibition, which starts at 10 a.m., will include stalls showcasing the latest technology, audiobooks and leisure activities, support and advice services, and arts and crafts created by people with visual impairments. The AGM will be held at 1:30 p.m. with light refreshments available all day. For further information, please telephone 07957 686 377 or 0208 343 3450. And the next one is Enfield Library Service has purchased an iPal Solo for its libraries in Ridge Avenue, Edmonton Green and Enfield Town. The devices can be used to access any print materials from books to letters, so VIP users can pop into a branch to have a letter read to them. You can take your own headphones or borrow some from the library. There is a large print user guide in A3 to assist independent users, and staff are available to help. And the next one is the NHS are consulting people about proposals to share patient information with those who plan health and social care services, as well as researchers and organisations outside of the NHS. The NHS say that we receive treatment from a range of service providers, including GPs, hospitals, and community services. They believe that by bringing this information together from different places, the care provided in one area can be compared with another, so that lessons can be learned. They propose to use information such as your postcode and NHS number to link records from those different places and store these on a secure system to protect our identity. To find out more about these proposals and to obtain a copy of the information leaflet in Braille or large print, telephone the NHS Patient Information Line on 0300 456 3531 or text phone 0208 742 8620. And now over to Joan, who will read the first news of local items.
A community group set up in the wake of the 2011 London riots will celebrate its achievements with a visit to the Houses of Parliament. Love Your Doorstep, LYDS, was established in Enfield as a way to fill the vacuum of community spirit in the borough. Founder Emma Rigby told the Enfield Independent how and why she set up the directory service, which puts people and businesses in contact with others that can help them. She said, "I had this burning desire inside of me to bring our community closer together. The riots were certainly a catalyst, but it made me realize that I didn't know my neighbors and there was no community feel. I wanted to find out more about the area where my kids are growing up, so I took the plunge and set up Love Your Doorstep. The hardest part of setting up the site was gaining people's trust that this could be a place to find out about Enfield and what it has to offer. The group is now thriving in Enfield with more than 7,000 residents active on its Facebook page and more than 600 businesses using the site. Whether it's a bouncy castle hire or simply asking for a good hairdresser's, this online community will point you in the right direction. The group hasn't just combated the social void, but works with local independent businesses to keep the high street going. Mrs. Rigby added, "We put people in touch with local businesses, and that way money is being put back into the economy. We are different to Yellow Pages. We build a trusted and personal relationship with local traders so that residents can easily find the best of the borough." After moving from her native New Zealand 12 years ago, Ms. Rigby has now been running the group for nearly 3 years and has 7 members of staff. The group has also expanded into Barnet, Potter's Bar, and Braintree in Essex, but that hasn't stopped her from wanting to grow even further. She said, "Hopefully we can now work closely with central government. We feel every area of the UK needs a Love Your Doorstep, and we can see that there is a great sense of community spirit now. Businesses are communicating with each other, and residents now have a closer understanding of independent traders." Kerry Kakaroulis said that his business, Give Us a Handyman, based in Cockfosters, has had huge success as a result of LYDS. He said, "I would say that about 60 to 70% of my business comes through LYDS. It's a massive community hub and is something everybody can trust. So when my business is recommended by people on the site, it can be trusted. I think the review system helps as well. Through being given one good review, I will get 3 more people ask for help. Hopefully my business will continue to grow, and I will then be able to take on an apprentice who will be from the local area." Many business workers who work with the group will accompany LYDS staff to the House of Commons on Monday to celebrate their achievements. Ms. Rigby added, "This is a true highlight for our group, and now the hard work really begins."
An inspirational boy will appear in a global campaign to help cure meningitis. Harvey Perry of Winchmore Hill lost both his legs and 3.5 fingers on his right hand after he caught a deadly strain of the virus when he was 15 months old. He is now a promising disabled athlete and will feature in a series of portraits for the Protecting Our Tomorrows global campaign led by the Confederation of Meningitis Organizations. His mother, Carol Parry, said she could not be more proud of her son's achievements. She said, He is a beautiful and handsome boy who has fought so hard, and he has made a remarkable recovery. He wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the tireless research by the Meningitis Research Foundation, and there is still more work to be done. Harvey needs to continue his rehabilitation, and we have gone across the world to make sure he gets treatment. With his prosthetic legs, Harvey is now an acclaimed sprinter, and he has flourished not just in the UK, but in the USA. The 8-year-old is one of the fastest children in the world and has collected 19 gold medals at international athletics tournaments. Ms. Parry said the campaign is about being positive, but highlighting the disease can be prevented. She said, a vaccination will cost several £100s, but we are hoping this campaign can force the government to make this more widely available. Harvey needs new legs regularly as he grows, and people in the borough have helped pay for this. Ms. Parry added, we have been so lucky that the people of Enfield have donated so much to Harvey. The campaign will look to highlight the impact meningitis can have on survivors and their families. A spokesman for Meningitis Now and Meningitis Research Foundation said, too many children face death and disability from meningitis every year. We hope these stunning portraits will raise awareness of the disease, its symptoms, and the impact it has on thousands of families every year. For more information, visit www.harvey-parry-appealfund.com.
Businesses have been left reeling following revelations that motorists may be banned from one of Enfield's main shopping routes. Proposals drawn up as part of the borough's bid for a pot of money from the Mayor of London's £100 million Mini Holland Fund include stopping cars from travelling along Church Street in Enfield town. Under the proposals, the street would be transformed into a two-way segregated cycle route with an eastbound buses-only lane. The pavements would be widened, making things safer for pedestrians, and Cecil Road would become two-way. Following a meeting between businesses and council chiefs last month, Town Centre Manager for Enfield Business and Retailers Association Mark Rudling said, businesses are concerned, quite understandably. They are worried they will lose passing traffic, and they are worried about the levels of congestion in Cecil Road. Mr. Rudling highlighted the widespread use of Church Street as a cut-through, pointing out that even though drivers might not stop and shop, at least they could see what businesses were there. But a prominent cycling advocate in the borough said the plans could make shopping in Enfield town easier for motorists. Brian Cornelius, chairman of Whiteweb Cycling Club and Eastern Regional Board member of British Cycling, said, segregated cycle lanes would mean motorists would no longer have to watch out for bicycles at awkward junctions. Parents don't give a hoot about their kids going along the pavement on a BMX bike, but as soon as you suggest getting them on a road bike, they say, oh no, it's too dangerous. What about all the traffic? Even though it's probably more dangerous for them to be racing along the pavement, he said. Cabinet Member for Environment Chris Bond added, the Mini Holland scheme is an exciting opportunity for the whole borough and, if agreed, would transform transportation in Enfield and help make us one of the most cycle-friendly boroughs in London. The proposals will be subject to a full public consultation if the funding bid is successful. The Mayor of London's office is expected to make a decision early this year.
Councillors are set to approve a budget for 2014 to 15 amid fears that the government's austerity drive could bring services to breaking point. Enfield Council's cabinet agreed the final draft last week, and the budget is marked by further belt tightening as a 2% cut in government funding means that £6.9 million of efficiency savings will start in April. Council tax will be frozen for the 4th year running, with savings having to be achieved by cutting back office costs, merging teams and automating services. Andrew Stafford, Cabinet Member for Finance, said, "This is the culmination of 4 years of cuts, and during our latest consultation, we've realised it has brought us back to core values, protecting children and the elderly." In April, it will be nearly 4 years since Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, outlined what has amounted to an £80 million reduction in council revenue in his 2010 Comprehensive Spending Review. Austerity is set to continue until 2018 at least, and the authority's greatest worry is a £30 million shortfall in 2015 to 16 because of a projected further 14% funding cut. Despite this year's freeze, there is a plan to increase council tax by 2% between 2015 and 2017, raising approximately £2 million. Finance chiefs estimate a further £60 million savings will be needed in the following 2 budgets to balance the books, meaning that according to current projections, the Council will have experienced a 40% reduction in funding between 2010 and 2018. Mr. Stafford added, "With this level of cuts, we are in a real pickle. We are coming close to being one step away from disaster all the time. With services at a knife edge, are we going to have a problem with safeguarding children in the future? Will we see children with reading problems because of library closures?" Michael Lavender, leader of Council's Conservative group, said, "My concern is the Council has not prepared properly for the situation we face next year. We cannot afford the current size of the organisation, but they don't want to downsize. They should have looked at the layer of middle management and made cuts there." Mr. Lavender refused to commit to any service cuts should the Conservatives regain control of the Council at the local elections in May. He added, "We need to have a look at the services we provide in terms of what is statutory and what is non-statutory, but until I have seen the books, I can't comment further on that. Next year's main budget pressure is the rising cost of housing homeless families in temporary accommodation. In December, there were 2,188 such households, with 480 staying in expensive bed and breakfasts, and finance chiefs estimate a £3.3 million shortfall next year. The popular Enfield Residents Priority Fund is expected to be maintained, although annual funding will be reduced from £1.4 million to £500,000. Mr. Stafford is optimistic, however, about the 3-year £505 million capital programme, funded through a mix of grants and borrowing. This includes the primary school expansion programme. The authority is more than doubling capital spending on schools to £64.3 million in 2014 to 15. And over the coming 2 years, the Council will inject more than £100 million into social housing projects, including the regeneration of the Ladderswood and Alma estates in New Southgate and Ponders End respectively. It has also earmarked £51 million to be spent on the regeneration of Ponders End High Street and to bring forward the Meriden Water Project, which will see 5,000 new homes built in Edmonton. The full Council is expected to ratify the budget plans next week.
A rising mixed martial arts star is training to defend her British kickboxing title while not losing sight of her dream of making it big in the United States. Lisa Lights Out McCallum, 19, of Berry Street, Edmonton, took the martial arts world by surprise in 2012 when she won the British K1 title in her first fight in the kickboxing discipline. That made her the youngest ever female K1 champion at just 17 years of age. Lisa is now training hard to defend that title against Fran Mahoney, whom she will fight on May the 3rd in Grays, Essex. Lisa, who grew up in an Irish traveller family at the Montague Road site in Edmonton, did have a successful football career ahead of her. When she was 14, she was watched by scouts from Chelsea Football Club while playing for Enfield Town ladies. Shortly afterwards, she met Eddie Cohn, a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, who has since opened a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy in Black Horse Road, Walthamstow. After meeting Eddie, Lisa felt her dream of joining the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the largest mixed martial arts promotion company in the world, which is based in the United States and where fighters can earn tens of thousands of pounds a contest, was in reach. She said, "I have always been an MMA fan, and now I have turned pro. It's amazing. Eddie has been a great mentor for me." Asked what she most likes about martial arts, the teenager said, "When you train so hard and beat someone in the ring, it's the best feeling ever." Under the guidance of Mr. Cohn, Lisa has 4 professional MMA fights under her belt, all of which she has won. That includes victory over Brazilian Maria Messa at the Flawless Fighting Championships in Chicago in August 2012. Lisa is hoping to compete at the Invicta Fighting Championships in Enkin, North Carolina, later this year. She added, "I believe I'm in a good place with support from my family and Eddie. They are so important to me, and they have seen me go from being a little girl to a grown woman and a real fighter." So there.
The oldest person in Enfield last week celebrated her 109th birthday. Ada Gould, a great-grandmother who is the 33rd oldest person in Great Britain, marked the milestone on Friday with a family get-together at the Elizabeth Lodge Nursing Home in Pennington Drive, Winchmore Hill. The centenarian was born on February 14, 1905, in Islington, North London, where her father ran a fur business. The eldest of 9 children, Ada married Albert Gould in the 1920s, briefly living in Edmonton before moving to Enfield Town, where she stayed for most of her life. She worked at Boots in Enfield Town for 34 years when the chemist was located in Church Street. Her husband died in 1974. Granddaughter Sally Ricketts, 53, of Parsonage Gardens, Enfield, said, "When I told her the other day that her birthday was coming up, she said, 'Oh no, not another one.' Over Christmas she was very ill with pneumonia and a chest infection, and we feared that we might lose her. But she pulled through and has recovered well. She's sleeping a lot at the moment, but when she wakes up she is still very much with it. She was always a very active lady and used to work really hard. She smiles all the time and has not lost her good sense of humour. She just gets on with it like so many people of her generation." Until 2010, Ada lived in Byculla Road, Enfield, where her son, Albert, looked after her. Sadly, he died suddenly in September of that year, aged 74. She has outlived all 3 of her children, Marjorie, Roy and Albert, but she still very much enjoys the company of her granddaughter Sally and her 2 great-grandsons, Sam and Luke Ricketts. Her 97-year-old sister, Kit Vango, who lives in Clacton-on-Sea in Essex, was unable to attend last week's birthday celebrations because train services were disrupted due to the bad weather. But she's expected to travel up to see Ada during the next fortnight. Good for her. Last month, Mrs. Ricketts agreed that Ada would take part in research led by medical researchers from Boston University in the United States. The New England Centenary Project aims to discover more about the genes and lifestyles of people who reach the grand old age of 105. In 2012, Buckingham Palace confirmed that Ada was older than anyone else in the borough, and now she has received another birthday card from the Queen.
Hundreds of homes in the borough are at a high risk of flooding, figures from the Environment Agency have revealed. The figures, which were requested by the London Assembly's Environment Committee, show that 352 homes in Enfield are in danger. The borough with the highest number of homes at risk is Waltham Forest, where 2,510 homes are threatened, followed by Kingston upon Thames, which is 2,361 properties in the agency's high-risk category. Neighbouring Barnet is the third most flood-prone borough, with 1,136 homes at risk. In total, 14,408 homes in the capital have been categorised as at high risk, with only two boroughs, Camden and Islington, with no homes at all in this category. Murad Qureshi, Environment Committee Chairman, warned, "The figures show far too many homes in London remain at high flood risk. The Prime Minister has said that money is no object, so it's time for the Mayor to cash in that promise and secure the funding necessary to protect homes. Current flood defence proposals will only protect a fraction of the homes at high risk."
A former mayor of Enfield will launch a poetry book written by a former political adversary whose group she once described as silly little children. Nadia Conway, who was mayor of Enfield in the early 1990s, will be helping publicise a poetry book by Kevin Higgins called The Ghost in the Lobby. Mr. Higgins was the chairman of Enfield against the poll tax and led protests against Enfield Borough Council's plans to use bailiffs against people who didn't pay the tax. At the time, Mrs. Conway described Mr. Higgins' group as silly little children following their disruption of a council meeting. The book launch will take place on Sunday, April the 20th at the Haringey Irish Centre in Pretoria Road, Tottenham at 3 p.m. We have now reached the end of side one of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side two.